You ready, Mrs. Chansey? Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this council meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. on July 2nd, 2024. I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Sherry Tice. I am sitting in for President Keller this evening. Mrs. Chansey, would you please call the roll?
Brooks,
Here.
Duvall,
Here.
Hollidan,
Absent.
Hedges,
Absent.
Klitska,
Here.
Moats,
Absent.
Tice.
Here. Okay, with 4 members present, we do have a quorum and can conduct our business. But evidently, it is also vacation season, so happy 4th of July, everyone. I'd invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and you're welcome to join us in the invocation that will follow if you wish. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who
Art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. In Jesus' name.
Council members should have received a copy of 3 sets of minutes this week. First, let's handle the minutes from the June 18th council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Move to approve as written.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Tom Duval. A
Second.
Second by Brooks. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, those minutes will be approved. Next, let's handle the minutes from the June 18th public hearing. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Brooks, seconded by Duval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, those minutes are approved as well. And finally, let's handle the minutes from the June 25th special council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
There are none.
Hearing none.
I will recommend approval.
We have a motion for approval by Tom Klitska,
Second.
seconded by Brooks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Those minutes are approved. Do we have any reports from council members this evening? Mr. Duval.
We have 4 ordinances from the Finance Committee, which I will address later. We're also scheduling 2 meetings, one on June the 6th, which is basically a routine ordinance. And the 16th, we're going to talk about the Court Street restriping. Both of those are 6:00 p.m.
So 6 o'clock on July
July.
9th
9th
and
and
16th.
July 16th. Okay, 6 o'clock.
The
Thank you.
9th is on the Montrose Avenue. One more information for the Ohio EPA to get our
Yeah.
low interest loan.
All right, the Montclair project.
Yes.
All right, 6 o'clock on the 9th and the 16th. Anyone else have a report?
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Brooks.
had the opportunity to speak to the local Boy Scouts group about my responsibilities as a councilman. I had a student invite me to speak to his group, and we talked about the responsibilities of a American citizen and what they can expect when they get a little closer to adulthood. So it was very nice getting to speak to those young men, and I think a lot of them have a bright future ahead of them. So thank you to those boys.
Great, thank you.
We're good.
Do you have a report this evening, Mr. Flynn?
Well, we do have one ordinance to review itself when it comes about. I will speak from the safety committee side of things, ma'am.
Very good, thank you.
You're
And I would like to report that the Strategic Planning Committee met on June 25th. Ms. Lexi Heidish from P3 has worked with the administration to review and correlate the various plans that have been done for the city over the years. She presented the city's action plan for implementing the strategic plan for development that was done last year with the Montrose Group. Our discussion focused on industrial site development, residential site development, the downtown redevelopment, and continuing to enhance our quality of place with parks, trails, and bike paths. Anyone who's interested can watch the meeting on the city's YouTube channel. All the recent council and committee meetings are available there anytime. Okay, we are pleased to have several city officials with us this evening. Our Mayor, Michelle Blanton, our Law Director, Kendra Kinney, and our Auditor, Mark Bidwell. Do any of you have reports to share this evening?
President Pro Temp, Ms. Tice, at this time, obviously, there's an ordinance on the agenda for this evening, which would be the discussion of the non-uniform union employees union and their negotiations for their contracts. So my office, as well as the auditor's office, HR, and various department heads have been spending the last 6 weeks negotiating with the union to come up with their terms of their employment contract for the next 3 years. So that'll be formally presented to council this evening, but just wanted to put out there that obviously that has my support, as well as, I believe, the rest of the city administration support.
Great. Thank you for your work on that negotiations. Mayor?
Yeah, so just a couple of things. Last Thursday, I had the opportunity to spend the morning with the Emergency Clearinghouse as they received their delivery from the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. It was a great experience for me to see and experience what they do, how they receive that, and talk a little bit about how many people they have on a daily basis that comes through the Emergency Clearinghouse and the whole process that they go through to provide resources. That same morning was PICA's produce pickup. And so as they were preparing for people to come to the food bank and the Emergency Clearinghouse in the afternoon, you saw people lining up to get the free produce from PICA. So those are resources that we have available. If anyone needs more information about that, please feel free to contact the city administration building. We'll be able to give you times of when those places are open so that citizens can go and get those resources. Been spending a lot of time with different departments and ribbon cuttings throughout the city as well. But the one last thing is, as we go into the 4th of July week this week, just remembering that it's more than just hamburgers, hot dogs on the grill, but it is celebrating the Declaration of Independence that was signed and what the purpose of that is. So as you are spending time with your friends, spending time with your family, watching fireworks, just remember that 248 years ago, the Declaration of Independence was signed, and that is the true reason why we celebrate the July 4th holiday. So I wish everybody a happy 4th, a safe 4th, and remember city ordinances and state law when it comes to fireworks.
Thank you. Auditor Bidwell, do you have a report this evening?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. That brings us to the public addresses section of our meeting. Would anyone in the audience like to address council? If so, please come to the podium, and you have 5 minutes. We are glad you're here. We welcome input from our citizens.
Thank you. Did you say 5 minutes?
5 minutes, yes.
I timed this at 5 minutes, so hopefully.
Okay, very good.
Say your name and address, please.
Tom Spring, 335 Meadow Lane.
Thank you.
A few years ago, council took testimony from citizens at a public hearing on the pros and cons of levying a $5 permissive license tax. Today, after 2 failed income tax levies, council is poised to place the $1 million plus levy back on the ballot a 3rd time without a formal invitation to ordinary citizens to offer their testimony and suggestions. It was clear from recent finance committee meetings that the city is planning with the expectation that the levy will fail again. Several statements were made about being transparent and about making plans for cutting other services if the levy does not pass. Transparency means being honest. Honesty means telling voters the city can still provide services with or without the levy, but the city may have to change its business model for delivering law enforcement services and spend our tax dollars differently. The decision not to contract out dispatching has cost $1.5 million additional dollars over 4 years that could have put more police officers on the street or for other worthwhile services. Each citizen pays twice as much per capita for law enforcement and dispatching than Canal Winchester citizens do. The cost per capita in Canal this year is $171. The cost per capita in Circleville is $353, more than double. Canal pays for professional quality law enforcement, 3 officers on duty 24 hours a day, every day of the year, plus dispatching and oversight. That's because Canal Winchester's mayor and council were willing to change their business model. The data suggests that the city could pay $1 million more for more officers on duty using such a model and still have $1 million in savings. Add up the price of the scandals, the settlements with victims and misbehaving cops, the investigator and attorney fees, the exorbitant costs of having 4 dispatch centers within the city limits when most municipalities in Central Ohio have none. This levy is going to be a tough sell to unhappy voters. Add to that public perception. It's now mid-year, no safety director, no chief. Instead of increasing standards for the chief, the city decides to cut the experience requirement to 6 months. I could see requiring 5 years supervisor experience at an MPA or MBA degree, but 6 months to be a chief of the scandal-plagued department. What other community and what other business does that? And then it's not a safety services levy, it's a safety forces levy. The implicit emphasis is on providing employees rather than providing services. Employees are a resource for providing services, but they're not the only resource available. Fire and EMS is well run and should be an easy sell. Residents in Circleville and the surrounding area have a track record of supporting real estate ballot issues, and the vast majority of fire and EMS levies in the area pass. Income taxes for police in the area fare very poorly. There are various models to fund public safety. Using the $320,000 in new revenue next year from Sofidel for law enforcement and contracting out dispatching will produce money needed for uniformed officers. Another option would be to use the Sofidel money for police, deduct that amount from the 0.4% levy, make the levy for fire and EMS only, and you free up money currently for fire and the other safety funds that can then be used for police. Better yet, if the city uses Canal's business model, the city conceivably could assess the same dollars per resident as Canal does and have 4 or more officers on patrol with dispatching and still have $1 million left over to invest in other services or to lower our taxes. Instead of making vague promises to voters that just trust us, we will make changes, I suggest passing a fire and EMS levy, use the Sofidel money for law enforcement for 1 year, and use the coming year to develop a business model that will eliminate scandals and waste and restore the public's trust. Then come back with something for law enforcement if needed when trust is restored. Last paragraph, taxpayers deserve to be told the truth about how the city spends its police dollars. It appears
Mr. Spring, you have 30 seconds.
okay,
Thank you.
that an amount roughly equal to the police appropriation in the current year's levy was not used to put officers on the street. Taxpayers also deserve a detailed study and evaluation of all options for delivering and funding professional law enforcement without scandals and waste. Talk to public policy and fiscal consultants in other cities, not just police. The city can learn a lot from that. There are other options in cutting services. I'll leave you with this parting thought from Episcopal Bishop Bob DeWitt, who said, "If we side with the status quo and keep what has been, it keeps us from reaching what can be." Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Spring.
Yep.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Please come to the podium. Give us your name and address.
Wes Hart, living on 147 Pleasant Street. Just came to express my thoughts on the restriping of Court Street. And there's meeting 9th or the 16th, you say?
1/6, 16.
16th, okay, thank you, sir. I'll probably come back to that, but
You're invited.
thank you. I'm just going to encourage you not to do it. We've got basically 4 lanes going north and south, Washington Street, Pickleway, and 2 on Court. Nobody counts Soda Street. Nobody counts Western Avenue. So if you cut 1 lane out, you've reduced that by 25%. I'll say it again next time if I come back, but I just don't think it's going to work. That's all I got.
Okay,
A lot shorter than last time.
thank you for coming
Thank you.
and giving us your opinion. Anyone else like to speak this evening? Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Chansey, do we have any communications?
No, we do not, ma'am.
Right. Do we have any legislation this evening?
Yes, we have 5 for first reading.
5 for first reading. Okay.
Okay.
Council states that legislation should be held for 3 readings, but often we will suspend the 3 reading rule in order to take care of business that is pressing. This requires the approval of 6 council members, which we do not have present this evening. So as all 5 pieces of legislation are in for the first reading, we will be able to hold them for a second reading and bring them back at the next council meeting. So, will you please read the first ordinance?
An ordinance replacing the 0.5% income tax rate increase allotted for the purpose of operating and maintaining the safety forces in the city of Circleville to be expended for the safety forces prior to the use of the funds allocated to the general fund with a 0.4% per annual income tax for a 5-year period, effective from January 1st, 2025 and expiring December 31st, 2029. Directing the Pickaway County Board of Elections to submit this ordinance to the electors of the city pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 718.04, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This comes to us from the Finance Committee. Mr. Duval, would you like to share more about that?
This is, we've discussed many times, and this is our decision to put it back on the ballot with the 0.4 versus the current 0.5 safety forces levy to save the citizens of Circleville. We hope, well, no, we'll save some money, and we hope that they will see the value in doing that. This is the ordinance, and there's the accompanying resolution, which will be the next one to be read.
Yes. Any questions or discussion?
No.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to hold that for the second reading. So moved by Mr. Duval, seconded by Mr. Brooks. Mrs. Chansey, please call the roll.
Duval,
Yes.
Kliska,
Yes.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Okay.
Please read the next resolution.
A resolution to submit to the electors at a general election to be held on November 5th, 2024. An ordinance to replace the 0.5% income tax rate increase allocated for the purpose of operating and maintaining the safety forces in the city of Circleville to be expended for the safety forces prior to the funds allocated to the general fund with a 0.4% annual income tax for a 5-year period to commence January 1st, 2025, expiring December 31st, 2029. Directing the Pickaway County Board of Elections to submit the tax ordinance to the electors of the city pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 718.04, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the companion resolution that is required. Also came to us from the Finance Committee. Mr. Duval?
Again, the first ordinance, correct me, our law director, if I'm incorrect, but my understanding is that this is the one that replaces the 0.5 with the 0.4, and the resolution allows us to put it in front of the people.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
Motion to hold for second reading.
We have a motion to hold this for a second reading by Mr. Brooks,
I'll second that.
seconded by Mr. Kliska. Mrs. Chansey, please call the roll.
Kliska,
Yes.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Duval.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs.
Okay.
Chansey, please read the next ordinance.
An ordinance to authorize and implement the labor agreement between the Non-Uniform Employees Organization and the city of Circleville.
That was a quick one compared to the last couple. This ordinance also came to us from the Finance Committee. Mr. Duval, would you like to speak about
And
that?
again, parroting your comments, thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work you and your team have done. We've obviously reviewed this. We're very pleased with what you presented, and on that basis, I would move to hold it to our next meeting.
We have a motion to forward this to a second to the next meeting at the 16th by Mr. Duval, seconded by Mr. Brooks. Mrs. Chancellor, please call the roll.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Duvall,
Yes.
Klitschko.
Yes.
Okay. We have a fourth ordinance. Mrs. Chancellor, please.
An ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance in a general fund 101, legal research and computer maintenance fund 209, specialized docket subsidiary grant fund 266, and capital improvement fund 306 of the city of Circleville.
Okay, thank you. I believe this ordinance also came to us from finance.
Last but not least, this is basically a routine housekeeping ordinance, and I will dutifully respond or send it over to. That R word isn't coming to the tip of my tongue.
Thank you. So yeah, just kind of, we did go over this at the finance committee. And basically what we're looking at is a total appropriations additional of $148,700 between 5 different funds. One of those is, main part of that is for the care of cemeteries, and that's some work that's back at the High Street Cemetery that needs done. And then some plow and lights for a new service vehicle that's coming in. And then finally, there's a quarterly maintenance bill that we have that was not budgeted for this year. So between all of those, and there's a little bit of payroll in there as well, comes to $148,700, and that's the total amount.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bidwell. Any discussion, questions?
Again, we've already talked about it.
Yes, I will entertain a motion to hold this for a second reading.
I'll make that motion to hold this ordinance for a second reading, please.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Klitschko,
Oh, second that.
seconded by Mr. Brooks. Mrs. Chancellor, please call the roll.
Brooks,
Yes.
Duvall,
Yes.
Klitschko,
Yes.
Tice.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, our fifth and final ordinance. Mrs. Chancellor?
An ordinance waiving the requirement that the chief of police become a resident of the city within 90 days of appointment to the position of chief of police under certain conditions, and repealing ordinance number 4389.
Yeah, an ordinance waiving that requirement, correct?
Yes,
That's
waiving.
correct.
Yes.
uh,
All right, this came to us from the Safety Committee. Mr.
It-
Klitschko?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, did come through us, and we were basically wanting to change things a little bit so that we can perhaps improve the candidate pool and the allowance to start or to move away from the 90 days within the city of Circleville and so on. So this should improve our allowance to bring in perhaps a candidate with more experience, perhaps, and not have to have them in the city within that 90-day period itself. So they may be from any of the contiguous counties.
I see. Any questions or?
Isn't that an ORC requirement?
Yes. May I
Yes, please.
opine the legal basis for this? If in reviewing our residency requirements, actually prior to the police chief's posting going out, a review of that demonstrates that our current policy as it states is too restrictive pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code. So while the residency requirement had to go out as it's spelled out in our local ordinances, they do have to be amended to allow for specifically the chief or any individual that we are deeming to be needed for emergency response to live within the county or a contiguous county to Pickaway County. There is no longer that opinion, or as the Supreme Court has said, there's no longer a ability for a city to put an actual residency restriction on the individual, a public servant living within the actual municipality. So that's why we need to broaden these provisions. Why I understand that may affect or show or have an ability to affect the applicant pool, we also need to make sure that our ordinances are in line with the Ohio Revised Code. And this one did need to be amended. There are a couple others that will need to come through at a later point in time too.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else? Any questions? No. I will entertain a motion.
Motion hold for second reading.
Motion, Mr. Brooks, to hold this for a second reading, seconded by Mr. Duvall. Mrs. Chancy, will you please call the roll?
Duvall,
Yes.
Bliska,
Yes.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
That's all I have, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That concludes the legislation portion of our meeting. Brings us to our new business. And under new business, am happy to report that we have 3 applicants for the opening on the Historic Review Board. I will invite each of them to come in for interviews at an upcoming council meeting. We also have an opening now on our Downtown Redevelopment District Board. We will be accepting applications for that through July 31st. The DRD board only meets once or twice a year to allocate funds and cover improvements in their respective districts. So it's a very light time commitment for anybody who may be interested. Applications can be filled out and submitted on the city website. And last, I'd like to announce that the Strategic Planning Committee would like to recommend that council sponsor an ice cream social to show our appreciation for all of the volunteers that serve on the city's boards and commissions. We did this last summer and it was very well received. And we're looking at Thursday, July 25th for this event. The cost is around $400. Any comments or thoughts about that?
Money.
No? Well, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve council sponsoring the ice cream social for volunteer appreciation.
Make that motion for approval.
So moved by Mr. Brooks,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Klitzka. Mrs. Chancy, please call the roll.
Okay. Hang on. Who did I start over? Okay. Bliska,
Yes.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Duvall.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other new business this evening? No? Is there a motion to excuse any of our absent members?
Like
Mr. Brooks?
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Moats, Mr. Hallen.
Well, one
And I
at a
do
time.
wanna-
One
One at a time,
okay.
One-
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Moats.
All right, thank you. Motion to excuse Mr. Moats from this evening's by Mr. Brooks, seconded by Mr. Duvall. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone
You're on a
opposed?
roll, Zach.
I'm on a roll. Okay.
You are on a roll.
Motion to excuse Mr. Hallinan.
Okay, motion to excuse Mr. Hallinan by Mr. Brooks, seconded by
I'll take care of that.
Mr. Klitzka.
Second, please.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion carries.
Another motion to excuse Miss Logan tonight. or Miss
Logan Hedges, yep. All right. We
I'll
have a
second
motion.
that.
Seconded by Mr. Klitzka. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. 3. And finally,
Motion
How
to adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Mr. Brooks. Seconded
on a roll.
by
I'll take it.
Mr. Mr. Duvall.
Tom Square has it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
All right, thank you so much for coming. This meeting is adjourned.
You.